We're talking about the government shutdown.
Yeah.
That seems to be on the brink of happening.
The deadline is October 1st, and it does not seem like McCarthy is going to be able to get his ducks in order and drag the Freedom Caucus along the line by their heels, okay? They're kicking, they're screaming, and McCarthy can't hold them together. Recently, earlier in the week, McCarthy met with Representative Scott Perry. Now, Scott Perry is the head of the Freedom Caucus. He leads this rebellious fringe wing of
populist,
of the Republican Party, and he comes to McCarthy. They're in the room, they're arguing, and they finally come to a deal. And the deal, from my perspective, is exactly what the Freedom Caucus wants. Scott Perry negotiates an 8% cut to all discretionary spending that doesn't have to do with defense.
Also implements an array of Republican border policies, which is such a huge political issue right now.
It's beautiful. It looks like a House Freedom Caucus wish list.
Exactly.
And right after the deal was made, comes out of the room, minutes later, a bunch of members of the Freedom Caucus say hell no. Andy Briggs, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, the whole gang say hell no, I'm not into it. Matt Rosendale, who's running for Senate in Montana, hell no, I'm not doing it. What more do they want?
Yes. It's funny because this 8% cut is already laughable. And Schumer, in the Senate, already called the plan reckless and not a serious proposal for avoiding a shutdown, because this obviously could never pass the Senate in any form close to what it's being proposed as. And these Freedom Caucus members are coming out against it because it's not extreme enough. So even though this bill is already silly, they're like, we want to make it even sillier.
It's like whenever McCarthy decides that he wants to do something, even if it's in the Freedom Caucus's favor, they then decide, you know what, that's not crazy enough, or that's not far right enough.
Yes, McCarthy has somehow gotten painted as establishment, which has made it simply impossible for the Republicans to govern in the House.
And this happens to every single Republican House Speaker. This isn't new. This happened to the guy under
John Boehner?
Yes. Thank you. Happened to John Boehner, happened to Paul Ryan.
Yep.
It's happening to Kevin McCarthy. Mm-hmm. This is the Republican playbook of the far right. This is how they get what they want.
Interesting theoretical question.
Yes.
If a Republican populist became the speaker, how would the centrist Republicans respond?
I think they would fall in line real quick, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, because they would get the majority of what they want. And I think that they know how to play politics well in the House Freedom Caucus. I don't think the House Freedom Caucus knows how to say yes.
Interesting.
That's my issue with them. Or that's my largest political... I have plenty of critiques of them, but that's my political critique of them.
As far as like their functioning.
Of their strategies. Like they don't know how to say yes when they won. They only know how to say no and scream and cry. They don't know how to govern.
Okay.
And Mike Lawler, representative from New York, who was in a Biden plus 10, Biden plus 15 district, he said that it is lunacy to expect this type of bill to pass in the House and then get passed in the Senate and then be signed by President Biden. He's like, we need to recognize that we have a Democrat Senate, a Democrat presidency, and we need to start thinking about how to make the government function. And he's complaining that when you elect lunatics, you get a lunatic government. And that's what we're in right now.
You know, it's
and that's
funny.
a Republican saying that.
It sounds a lot like what Nikki Haley said about abortion in the debate.
True.
Like it makes no sense to propose these federal bans because we have a democratically controlled Senate and we're definitely not going to get 60 Senate seats and beat them on the filibuster. So why are we even proposing these things?
And see, so that's what tells me that these centrist Republicans know how to play politics better.
Yeah.
Right? Because they know. They're not stupid. Mm-hmm. And so... And the Republicans in the Senate have totally washed their hands. We have John Cornyn in Texas. He says if House Republicans can't agree on a spending patch, then it looks like we're heading to a shutdown. So Senate Republicans are like, okay, guys, if the House Republicans can't figure it out, then we're heading to a shutdown. We're done with this. We are not attached to them. This is their fault. This has nothing to do with us. Because the Republicans in the Senate have honestly been hurt and hindered by the House Freedom Caucus crazies during the 2022 midterms.
Yeah.
So many of them pulled Senate candidates down at the top of the ballot.
And they don't want to do the hard work of actually trying to pull these Freedom Caucus Republicans into the coalition. So they're like, they're not us. Stay away.
Exactly. But you know what? That's interesting because maybe they don't even view them as being in their coalition. Like maybe they don't even want to own them.
This reminds me. So other piece of news isn't on our sheet. Mitt Romney announced he's going to retire.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw this interview with the Post or at least some highlights with it.
No.
he talked about how Senate Republicans, when Trump was in office, would welcome him in and be extremely respectful to him, and then listen to him talk or exchange words with him. And then as soon as he left the room, they would burst out laughing.
Wow.
And this seems very similar to that for me.
That's exactly how I feel about it too.
Yeah.
That's exactly that is showing that the Senate Republicans don't view these people as serious. And honestly, I don't think they deserve to be looked at as serious. They don't have serious demands. I don't think they have serious critiques. I think they're just contrarians and they're populists and they don't know what to yell at, but they're out there yelling at the sky every day.
Totally.
And they don't know how to say yes to anything.
Yeah.
You know, they have an 8% cut here on the table. Why would they not take that? What a win that could be.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. It means they're thinking about 15, right? And that's absurd. And 8% isn't even get close to what's making it. So what we talked about in take one is that I think at least the Democrats will eventually come in after McCarthy starts going for the lane or stops going for the lane of trying to fit these Freedom Caucus members into his coalition. And we're going to get an agreement that's similar to what we got out of the debt ceiling bill in the spring, where even though it might look a little bit like a political win for McCarthy, effectively Democratic spending is mostly going to be preserved.
I agree that that's what's going to end up happening to avoid the government shutdown, but I don't think McCarthy survives that.
Really?
I think the Freedom Caucus votes to vacate.
Maybe, but again, someone has to replace.
But someone has to replace maybe, but then he won't. They'll just put the whole House in standstill. They'll vote to vacate him, right? You only need one member to put in a vote to vacate. All the Democrats will vote to vacate McCarthy. Then you only need like 4 Republicans to vote to vacate, and McCarthy's out of power.
That's true.
And then they could just keep doing that forever.
But again, a replacement would need to be there.
Why?
At some point.
But the Freedom Caucus doesn't even want the government to function. Their dream would be to shut down the House of Representatives forever. And they could.
I think Democrats would step in.
You think? But what Republican is going to vote with the Democrats? I can imagine there's 3, but what happens? Hakeem Jeffries becomes Speaker?
No. There will
bail
be
out McCarthy?
some Democrats. Yeah.
No, Democrats will never bail out McCarthy. Democrats might pick a consensus Republican, like Bacon from Nebraska, but McCarthy doesn't survive this. They're not gonna let McCarthy stay in power after this.
If that's true, then I would be extremely disappointed with Democrats.
Really? You think the Democrats should prop up McCarthy?
I don't think McCarthy's a good speaker. Obviously. I don't want him to have that position, but I think it's better for there to be a speaker than for there not to be. And I think the Democrats then become just as guilty as playing stupid, unproductive politicking if they don't step in and do something to make that the case.
There is another interpretation that Democrats can say, look, the House has been shut down for all this time because Republicans can't get their head in order and you can't elect them to government because they don't know how to function it.
But that's what I'm saying. Even if it's a political win for the Democrats, it's not an effective win. It's not a policy win. We want the government to be governing.
Yes. I just don't know if I don't know if they would ever be okay. Listen, that's another bridge we have to cross when we get there. But I do think there will be a vote to vacate the chair.
Okay.
They actually found, Matt Gaetz has drafted a vote to vacate, and a reporter found it on the bathroom floor, not the bathroom floor, but on the bathroom next to the sink, written by Matt Gaetz, already ready to go. So it is already out there. Like, he has it prepped. He just needs to submit it.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, so funny that, like, dude, this thing to vote to vacate the chair was on you know what it was? It was on a diaper changing table.
Interesting.
That's where it was, in the bathroom. I just think that's so funny.
Yeah, that is funny. It makes me think of
Jake Sullivan reported that, so if that's fake news, blame Jake Sullivan. Don't blame me.
Jake Sullivan, I trust.
Yeah, Jake Sullivan's awesome. So,
Yeah.
Okay.